Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another
Oladipo!
one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with you as always. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Dustin Schutte alongside John, the producer, keeping us between the white lines. Don't forget, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com to get more to your door, and the family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area under the Endeavor umbrella. Great places like BB's Market, where you're your butcher, baker, no matter where you live. Custom meats and a full-size bakery, and the new Butcher's Cut Steakhouse coming soon. Welcome aboard, Shooty Dustin. Lots to talk about. And on the program today, as always, a great lineup. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic, Kyle Neddenriep from the Indianapolis Star, and Rick Bozich, USB All Hall of Fame writer, will join us as well. And there is plenty to talk about, Shooty Dustin. The Big Ten basketball schedule's out. That is money or something we'll be speaking about. But IMG Academy sold for $1.25 billion. Talk about that. The SEC has quickly morphed into they're trying to do away with his tag of being a football only conference. And they're getting into basketball. It's not, they're not complete as a league in that, though. They're good at the top and then not a lot after that. But we'll talk about that. IU baseball holds on for another win. Their 8th straight, 9-8 on the road at Ball State. They go to 31-11 on the season, sitting atop the Big Ten standings still. And how about this? Tottenham over in across the pond, Tottenham Hotspur soccer or football program. Players have pledged to repay fans for tickets after a 6-1 road loss at Newcastle United.
Wow.
For Champions League qualification. There's such uproar amongst the fans and they gave up 5 goals in the first 21 minutes. And so, but players, that's a professional league, major league team.
And they're going to refund the fans.
Well, they pledged to repay any fans that for their tickets for that game.
I've never heard of that. Because when you buy a ticket to a sporting event, you are paying for the risk. There are no guarantees that your team's going to perform well, and that's pretty cool. The only thing I can think of, and this happened somewhat recently, was country music artist Luke Combs had like an issue with his voice during a concert, and
that was Morgan Wallen, but I know what you're talking about. Sorry,
this was Luke. This was Luke Combs.
Morgan Wallen did the same thing in Oxford this past week.
Right, he had an issue with his.
Are you kidding me? Wait a minute.
Luke
Tell
Combs,
me about the one. Oh, go ahead and finish.
Luke Combs had an issue with his voice, and he finished the concert. He stopped the concert, said, "I'm going to do the best damn show I can do with this voice, but we're going to refund all of your tickets." Morgan Wallen, did he go through with it? Because I heard he had an issue with his voice and canceled, but did those people get refunds?
They got refunds for the tickets, but he canceled the show with about 8 minutes until he was supposed to go on stage.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal. Ooh,
is this the one that was people? Is this the one that was in Oxford? Is this the one that was in Oxford?
It was supposed to be. He had already played one night in Oxford. This was supposed to be night 2.
Well, I'll have to check with my daughter to see. My daughter was at that concert, so I'll have to check with her to see if she went the first night or the second night.
Well, a lot of people were speculating that it wasn't so much his voice that kept him from coming on stage, but he got intoxicated before he went on because people took videos during sound check and said that he sounded fine.
Oh, I didn't hear that portion of the story. There's a new element to this.
I know.
Well,
so there's a little controversy potentially with Morgan Wallen.
That's shocking, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
but
of course.
So this is now twice I've heard, but for a soccer team to refund the entire, or football team to refund an entire fan base, that's, again, Luke Combs did it. Put on the show, refunded all the money because it wasn't
refund.
Now I get it. We did this last week. We did this last Wednesday. It's a Wednesday theme.
That's the great thing. Now, if once you start getting into mainstream popular movies that the rest of us have already enjoyed 30 years ago, you can get these little
nuggets. These
little nuggets of joy little zingers that I sly out there that just choo.
Keep going over my head.
Little shots over the bow, like just little they're baby Scud missiles, just shooting over the bow.
They do go over my head quite a bit.
Welcome everybody to the Andy Moore Honda Hotline. We appreciate everybody with the comments, questions. Keep them coming. Also, make sure if you're joining us on YouTube from somewhere outside of our listening areas, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification toggle so you do not miss an episode or anything, any of the content put up on ISB Radio. And hello to everybody listening, whether you're on the Ref 97.7, ESPN, always the right call, or River Rats down in Evansville area, or up in the region, our region rats, listening on WJLB 104.7 and 12:30 a.m., the voice of the region. And then soon to be over on The Fan in Fort Wayne. Looking forward to being on air there. And, of course, WBRO 899 Marengo. So hello to everyone listening on radio as well. But hope it's a good day no matter where you are. Plenty to get to and looking forward to talking about it all. The Big Ten basketball schedule, nothing jumped out. I'll talk about this later as well. But nothing jumped out about this schedule to me. For Indiana, they're not disadvantaged. They're not the home only games and the away only games. For once, I looked at it, I'm like, it's a wash to me. It was.
I think so.
But you don't.
I think. Well, I mean, it's hard to predict and project, and we've talked about this with multiple college basketball people, Kevin Sweeney, Mike DeCourcy. It's hard to project how teams are how good they're going to be, because we don't know about A, the NBA draft. We don't know about B, the transfer portal. So it's kind of hard to project.
But I'm just talking about the schedule, just looking at
right.
But I get what you're saying. It's hard to make this just kind of going on what we're thinking.
Right. I think Indiana made out really well because
I think they definitely came out on the better side because of the teams they got home and home.
Because of the teams they got, I think, at home. They get Michigan State only at home, and they only have to play Iowa once, and that game's at home. So I think when you look at, of course, you're always going to play Purdue twice since the Big Ten implemented the safety net for rivalry games. But they have struggled against Iowa, so the fact that you get them at home, Michigan State is a team that we think might be near the top of the Big Ten next season.
But you can also look at it this way. You can look at it this way: of the three games they get that are home only, Iowa, Michigan State, Northwestern, they lost to two of those teams at home last season.
Yeah. You
the
can't
away
make
only
that,
games.
But I'd
Go
rather
ahead.
I'd still rather play them at home than on the road.
Well, of course, but you've got to go on the road to play Illinois, Michigan, and Rutgers, which Michigan is a big
problem.
question mark there. Yeah, well, we say that now. We never know, but
True.
But expecting that to be that way, yes. But that can always change. So, but my point there is, I think that equals each. I think that's a wash. The home and the only and the away
Fair.
only. But the home and away, Maryland, that's a tough one. So that's a wash. Minnesota, Nebraska, and Penn State. New coach, new program now. That should be 6 wins. And you got Purdue and Wisconsin. You split with Purdue. I think next year is the year that, first of all, you have to stop this damn losing streak at Wisconsin. And which they should have done when they had that 21-point lead. But anyway, regardless of that, I think that they could possibly sweep Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin's going to be one of those sleeper teams because of
could be.
They're a sleepy team to watch, first of all, and they can beat anybody and they can lose to anybody on any given night because of the way they play. But they got Tyler Wall coming back.
Well, first of all, let me make sure that everyone knows that I am fully aware that any conversation that we're having at this particular moment about what we're talking about is basically BS, because
it is.
None of these teams are probably, with the exception of maybe Michigan State, and I don't know because I don't have the rosters of all 14 damn teams. I'm not following all 14 teams at the moment, but I don't know whose roster is even complete and who's not. I know Indiana's is not, and I know Purdue's is.
Yeah, I was
Michigan
say,
State's
Michigan State
most likely is. Maryland's probably is.
I would say Maryland depends on Hunter Dickinson. I would say Purdue, Michigan State, and Wisconsin are the 3 teams that you probably know the
Maryland
most
can
about.
Maryland can only get better.
Right.
And that's
right.
that's a scary thing. So we'll just have to see. But regardless of that, I think that the home and away portion worked out well. I think there's at least 6 wins in there.
Actually,
7.
I'm gonna jump in. I think that the one team that you keep an eye on that might kind of free fall is Rutgers. And I know they've been tough as nails under Steve Peichel, but they lose some guys. And so that's going to be an interesting team to keep an eye on next season. Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin. I think those 3 teams are going to be pretty solid. I think Ohio State will be solid. I think Rutgers is a team that could potentially, I don't know about fall off a cliff, but they may not be in that NCAA tournament conversation next year.
I think Northwestern takes a drop.
It depends on Chase Audige and Boo Buie. I think that right there, those 2 guys, if they come back, Northwestern could be really good. If they don't, they could be at number 14 in the Big Ten again.
We've got to take a break. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, April 26th. Looking forward to talking to Bob Kravitz from The Athletic up next. Brought to you by Go Team, a part of the Endeavor Hospitality family. Just go to mywownetwork.com and you can find all of the WOW brands. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Brady Allen in the portal?
Yep.
Wow.
Guess where
Boy,
he might go.
Louisville, of course.
Yeah, Louisville, because Jeff Brown's bringing all of his boys with him.
I thought he had already gone to Louisville. That's the funny thing. I'm like, oh, he didn't already go to Louisville?
Jack Plummer's at Louisville, but he had already transferred out once, hadn't he? Wasn't he at California or something last year?
Yeah, he's going to be the starter next year. Well, I anticipated starter until
it's either him or a guy named Pierce Clarkson, who's a freshman. So
Plummer had a year at Cal that was equal to his entire statistical career at Purdue. last year.
Wow.
I mean, he had a breakout season.
Well, from what I was told during the 2020 season or 2021? I can't remember which. Jeff Brom was really, really high on Plummer, and that he basically what I was told was the entire coaching staff basically wanted Aiden O'Connell, but Brom was so stubborn that he started Plummer until he could no longer start Jack Plummer because it became very obvious that he was not the best quarterback on the roster. I don't know.
Good morning, Mr. Kravitz.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
We're good. What's Pat say
Robert?
today?
I think it's just a golf
Callaway.
hat. Just a
Callaway.
Callaway hat.
Just
No
old
hockey
Callaway. Just
No
an old
hockey
Callaway hat. We're in the middle of the hockey playoffs. How can you not have a hockey hat on?
Yeah, I'll put on my Colorado Rockies.
Are they in the playoffs?
The Colorado Rockies were a team in Denver from 76 to 82. They were an NHL franchise from 76 to 82.
Rockies. Damn it. I'm thinking of the Avalanche, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Denver had a team before that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They were really creative with the naming.
And
I feel like we had this conversation last year.
I'm surprised that they gave up the name Rockies. Someone.
Oh, because baseball came in and took it.
Well, I know, but I mean, I would think that you would have that name if you wanted to keep it in some way, if you had it registered or some form by that organization.
Well, baseball came in 93. The Avalanche almost became the Rocky Mountain Extreme, believe it or not.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys.
Boy.
Custom
That's a
growers.
lot.
Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, April 26th. Joined now by the incomparable Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. How are you doing, sir?
Greetings, my friends. How are you?
Greetings and salutations. Doing
Exactly.
Peachy Keen. Dustin Schutte with us as well. We're joking in the break. The NHL playoffs are going on. I know you are a big hockey fan.
I am.
You keep up with the playoffs? Are you following them?
Oh, my God. Ask my wife. Are you kidding me? He's like, all right, I'll go upstairs and watch HGTV while you watch hockey for 4 hours. Yes, I watched. I went to bed early last night because I had to get up at 5 this morning to write a piece, but I stayed up and watched hockey until about 10:30. Yeah, I can't get enough of it. I'm totally addicted.
Where are we in the NHL playoffs now? Are they to the semifinals yet?
No,
Jim's
no,
a huge
it's
fan.
Still in the first round. Most of this series are 2-2 or 3-1. So yeah, Avalanche and the Seattle Kraken are tied 2-2. So I'm watching that closely, and I'm watching the Islanders, who are down 3-2 to the Hurricanes. These words mean nothing to you, Jim Coyle.
That's not true. I do. It's not that I don't enjoy hockey. It's just one of those sports that when you don't grow up with it,
Right.
or don't grasp it quick, it was like soccer. That the only reason I am much more indoctrinated into that now is because my daughter played, and so I was forced to. And then all of a sudden, I took her to a game once, like an Indy 11 Louisville game, and I was like, "Damn, when you see it up close, it's a different deal, man. It's a different deal."
That's the way I am with motorsports. I grew up in an area of the country where motorsports were, a cab going down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And I knew nothing about it when I came to Indy. And one of my first columns that they had me write was Dale Earnhardt passing away, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know the first thing. I mean, I barely knew the difference between NASCAR and IndyCar. I'll be honest with you. So, you know, I've over the course of 20 something years, I've kind of figured it out. But yeah, when I came here, I was a lost puppy.
Yeah, I've been a NASCAR fan for a long time. It was kind of like the Indy thing with me. I had to learn the Indy side after just having NASCAR introduced first, because they're so different.
So one of the things I always tell people about when it comes to the Indianapolis 500, and I don't know, maybe this goes against me being a native born Hoosier, but you've got to go to the Indy 500 once.
Yes.
But after that, you don't have to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, would you agree with that? And I'm interested that not growing up with it. Like, I know there's people that go every year, have a great time, but you got to do it
It's the
once.
spectacle, man. If you are
after that,
fan, you're a fan. It is the spectacle that it brings.
But it's
man,
so
you
much.
either love it or you don't. Well,
No,
it's one of those things that you love being at or you don't want to. It's you either love being at it or you want to be that one-time only guy. Right, Bob? Or would you agree with that?
Most people who go that one time, they come back because it is a hell of a time. I'm looking forward to retirement so I can go as a fan, sit out there in the first or second turn, have a couple of cocktails, and just enjoy myself. But yeah, it's the spectacle. You know, you don't really need to know that much about motorsports to really appreciate and enjoy the Indy 500.
I just had a great idea. We're planning on doing the show from Indianapolis that week. Not the entire week, but, you know, at least Thursday, Friday, maybe Wednesday. Maybe I'll make sure that's the day you're on. But and I just thought, you know, Chris Denari is on with us on Thursdays, and he has the Turn 4 call on the radio race for the Indy 500 and the NASCAR races. But I was like, okay, when we do the show with him, I'm going to try to do it with him in his perch, with his up high above the track someplace in that.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah, climbing up there. So we'll see how
good luck
that
with
goes.
that. I ain't going up there. Hell
no,
no.
We'll stay down. Hey, you've been in a car with Mario Andretti going around that speedway.
I have.
To me, that's still, that has to rank up at the very top of experiences you've been able to enjoy through this job.
Oh, absolutely. And playing hockey against some Hall of Famers. That was very cool.
That for you, I can see.
That was a big deal. Brian Trottier, Jimmy Carson, people like that. Names that mean absolutely nothing to you at all. But driving, I've done it twice. Once with Andretti and once with another guy. I don't remember who it was. And
now we're bragging.
It was incredible. It was painful, you know, because there's so many G-forces coming at you that you're just trying to keep your head on top of your neck. You know, it's like
no Hans device.
Oh, there's a Hans device, but you're still like the helmet kept moving up my head. I felt like it was going to pop off. Yeah,
lifting. Lifting.
We went about 175, something like that.
And if people watched like the Talladega race over the weekend, the NASCAR race, that's a race where it is just built on nothing but drafting. But they kept showing the cars behind and the force just trying to peel the hoods up off of the cars that are right behind the lead cars. Lifting them up 3 inches. Yeah. That's hard to do. That's metal. I know it's sheet metal, but
that's one of the terms I've learned. Dirty air. You don't want that dirty air.
Fun. Now, do you watch NASCAR races at all or anything?
No, I don't. I'll watch
Indy. Do you watch Indy races?
Indy, I'll probably cover it. Who knows? But
besides the 500, do you watch any Indy car races?
Oh, any Indy car, if it's on and I got nothing better to do. To me, IndyCar is
a ringing endorsement the next spokesman for the Indy Racing League, Bob Kravitz. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. I mean, if there's a hockey game on, I'm watching the damn hockey game. And by the way, the basketball, by the way, NBA playoffs have been dynamite.
Well, we'll get to that now. But I want to say hey to Ike, who's listening, joining us from Serbia.
Have some Žlivo for me, Ike. Žlivovic.
See, we've got international flavor going on here.
We do. Žlivovic is like a plum brandy that you drink about 2 of those and you start speaking in tongues.
Canton,
Sounds
Michigan,
like a good time.
On for you. They're all over, man. Grand Rapids, and our friend Foran from Mozan, from Amman, Jordan, usually with
Amman,
us
Jordan.
as well.
Wow, you got listeners everywhere.
So the NFL draft is coming up, but first, you just mentioned what was it? We were just saying we were going to talk
NBA.
about.
I mean,
yeah,
watching
playoffs.
I actually stopped watching a hockey game for a few minutes to watch the
breaking news:
Golden State, and Sacramento. Thank you. I am rooting so hard for Mike Brown. I can't tell you. Mike Brown was a 22-year-old video guy in Denver when I was around the Nuggets back in my Denver days. Great guy. He was an assistant coach for the Pacers here for several years. One of my favorite people in sports, and I am rooting hard for Sacramento. I love Golden State. I love the way they play. I don't even mind Draymond, except when he administers crotch punches. But I love me some Mike Brown.
Yeah, what I don't understand. Draymond Green is one of those guys that I don't get. I'm like, you know what? It takes everything. I just don't look at him as a good player just because of all the crap. I know that, but there's so much focus on all the crap. He's like Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
Grayson Allen.
No, I was going to make the same comparison as Bob. It's Dennis Rodman. And when he retires, you're going to look back and say, man, what a great career he had.
Great career. Maybe even a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I agree with that. And man, speaking of the NBA playoffs, is there a player who, to me, that seems to be a more drastically improved player than Jimmy Butler from the regular season to the playoffs?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
He's
Jimmy
good
Buckets,
all
man.
the time. He's good all the time, but in the playoffs, he hits another level that it's like watching LeBron and Michael Jordan at the same time. I don't know what it is.
Well, that was one of the great things about Reggie Miller is that, Reggie always turned it up in the playoffs. Most guys, their numbers go down in the postseason because it's a little more defensive oriented, or at least it used to be. But Reggie's numbers always went up. And that's Jimmy Butler, man. That's amazing to me. Milwaukee was my pick to win the NBA title, and I still feel like they have a chance, but they're down 3-1 now. That's getting a little dicey. That's going up against the edge.
The NFL draft. No big deal.
No big deal. Get a quarterback. Be right or be gone. I think it's so much.
There's so much chatter about Stroud. Does that anything to the smoke with CJ Stroud? If you weren't didn't hear, we talked about this yesterday. I think they used to use the Wonderlic test as an evaluation tool during the combine. Now it's the S2 eval, and I still can't believe how low of a score. I don't care what kind of a test it was.
I don't know if that's true. There was a guy on who is involved. I saw him on one of the radio shows who said that was bogus. So I've
tried to get someone from S2 eval to come on.
Yeah. They said it was bogus. So I'm not going to read anything into it. Look, if
his numbers are what his numbers are.
Yeah, his number. Yeah, I mean, he clearly processed well enough to be a terrific quarterback at Ohio State. Here's what I think is going to happen. If there's fire with all this smoke, Houston will pass up a quarterback, go for best player available, and that'll make Stroud available to the Colts. I think they would go in that direction. If Stroud goes to Houston, I honestly think it's going to be Will Levis. But it's just a guess on my part. I mean, I don't have any insight.
I'm going with Richardson.
Well, I mean, he's interesting, but he's not going to play for you for a year or even two.
You think Stroud would
Levis
play
gonna
immediately?
I think almost immediately. Yeah.
What about Levis?
Yeah, Levis, I think might take a little time, but I think it'll be one of those situations where Minshew gets the start and, on opening day, and then as the season wears on, then they'll probably, and they're going to lose. Then you get the rookie in there. I think that would be the case for Levis. Richardson may not play at all his rookie year. You don't know. You don't know. I mean, these guys could come in and figure it out real quick and really surprise you.
Well, to me, the question is regarding a quarter. Sometimes you have to find that balance. Like, you don't want to kill a kid's confidence because you have an offensive line that is god awful. And I feel like if you draft Will Levis or CJ Stroud, those guys are going to be in trouble. Anthony Richardson can at least move. I don't know that he's ready to throw the football, but I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot. You're always taking a risk. There is no surefire quarterback in this draft, like we've had a Trevor Lawrence or a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck. But there's a lot of positives and negatives with this quarterback class. I just don't know how good it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to ask the question: are these guys really that good, or is this just one of those years where you have so many quarterback needy teams that it pushes everybody up, and three of the first four guys are quarterbacks, even though there's significant questions about all of them. But as far as being able to move behind a bad offensive line, and I don't know how bad they're going to be, with new coaches and everything, but all three of these guys can move. Levis is an amazing athlete. Richardson, amazing athlete. Stroud didn't really run until the CFP game against whoever it was, Georgia or whoever. Whoever, I talked to Peyton the other day, and he believes that you should go in there and start right away and play every game. But everybody's different. I mean, Peyton was a different cat. I mean, Peyton knew the offense as well, if not better than Bruce Arians and Tom Moore, because they all.
And that's coming from a guy who went through the fire in his early
28
years.
interceptions his rookie year. That is the record for most interceptions thrown by a rookie. And by the way, my story on the 25th anniversary hopefully will be coming out tomorrow in The Athletic, and you'll definitely want to read it. I feel confident saying that.
See,
I always want to read everything.
Exactly. We'll definitely jump on that. But that to me is the interception total. That's where I get to the point where not everybody's Peyton Manning. Yeah. And if that happens that could crush somebody's confidence.
Yes.
And you may not be able to bounce back from it. So that's why they have to be able to find a balance. I trust that they will. But I think, there's no one right way to go about it. You could be a Peyton Manning and jump right in there and go after it immediately, or you could take the Aaron Rodgers approach where you're going to be on the bench for a couple seasons before you actually get your shot, and you might be just fine. I don't know. This is an interesting draft because I feel like the Colts have to get it right because they've missed and they've kicked this can down the road for so long that it's time to stop playing the quarterback carousel and find your guy for at least the next 5 to 7 years.
This potentially will be Chris Ballard's Waterloo. Yeah. Or it could be the thing that keeps him in his job for years to come. I mean, they got to get this right. There's just, that's an oversimplification, but it's the truth.
Yeah. And then this is kind of I don't want to call it a weak quarterback draft, but it's a weak quarterback draft from some years.
but I mean, it's hard to compare when you don't know how they're actually going to turn out.
Well, you
it just
never
seems
do.
like
I mean, the thing is that, next year you're going to have Caleb Williams from USC and Drake May from North Carolina, and they're more highly considered by NFL people. So yeah, I mean, there's actually been talk, not internally, but just kind of media people yapping, thinking, well, maybe wait 1 year, go get the best player available and wait. I don't see how they can do that because there would be a riot at West 56th Street.
absolutely.
Go get your quarterback now.
Yeah, they'll have to do that because I agree. It would be problematic. What's the timing problem for that? What is that your next piece that you do have coming out there?
Yes, and then I'll be at the draft all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'll have a couple of pieces from there. I'll certainly be writing about whichever quarterback they select, and I'll get back on the stick here.
How about IMG Academy? Last question, being sold for $1.25 billion.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
I agree.
A high school academy sold for $1.25 billion.
It's
who buys a school?
Gosh, I don't know, but I mean, you think of all the players who've gone through there. I mean, including didn't Matherin go there? Edie, I don't remember.
They're like the IMG was like the forerunner, like before Montverde. But I know with Montverde, it's not just sports. They have students from all over the world in so many different things, including sports. And it's sports of all nature, not just basketball, football.
What would you do with $1.25 billion? That's the question.
That is a good
Bob,
question.
That's a conversation that would take much longer than the time we have, because it would be a slow, methodical, nothing crazy, but very slow and methodical.
I probably wouldn't be on this show tomorrow, but I might be back on Friday.
I would not be buying the Washington the Washington Commanders.
Not for $1.25 billion. That'll get you.
But I could
an offensive lineman.
I could be a part. I could be a piece. Hey, Magic, just give me a little percentage.
Piece, yeah. I've got some thoughts on $1.25 billion, but I won't share them here.
Well, put them on paper.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right, boys.
Appreciate you, brother. Enjoy
right,
the links, and hopefully we'll do that together sometime soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds good, guys.
Absolutely. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you follow him and check out his piece coming out today, I believe you said, or tomorrow. Today or tomorrow? Tomorrow. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And speaking of golf, don't forget, June 8th is the Never Lose Hoop golf outing. It's begun by the Hulls. It's the Hulls Foundation. Jordan Hull's kind of taking that over now, but JC and Joni Hull started that, benefiting kids with cancer in the area. And that will be here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, or Golf Club at Eagle Point, rather. That is June 8th. It's a Thursday coming up. So looking forward to that. Lots more here, brought to you by Hoosier Hank and Hank's Pizza Mac, located on North Walnut. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether it's, I'm going to start kicking Bob out once we go to the break, because he stays the whole time, and it just messes with me thinking that he's got something else that he wants to say, because most people just leave.
Right.
He just wants to hear your outro.
No, he's thinking he's being kind and considerate, and thinking he's being considerate. He thinks, no, I get it. It's being considerate. Yeah. It's a mental thing with me, man.
I used to do the same thing. You wait till the end of the segment and then you leave. I did the same thing. just south of Small Town, USA. Small Town, USA.
That's Seymour. That's Seymour to you.
Seymour?
Seymour Butts.
Some coffee here. You guys can't see this?
That's Under the Bleachers by Seymour Butts.
That's right.
40 Yards to the Outhouse by Willie Make It.
By
Never heard that one?
Freely. There's one. I can't remember what that one's for.
There's a lot of them out there.
Under the Bleachers by I.C. Butts.
Seymour Butts, not IC Butts.
Or Seymour Butts. Seymour Butts, that's right. Or his brother I.C. wrote a sequel.
Oh. Oh, goodness gracious, gentlemen.
No, Robert, that's not it. They don't pay attention to that.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Na. All right, here we go.
Dude, I can't believe you're not going to come up and do the 500.
I got a lot of stuff going on.
You ain't got dick going on. And so you're not coming up for the Derby, I assume.
Nope. That's next. No, that's next week. I
understand that. That's why.
All right, here we go.
Damn it!
Planning, shopping, and prepping, and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Wednesday, April 26th. Brought to you by our good friends from RE/MAX Realty in Indianapolis, Cheryl Sizemore specifically. If you're in the market for a home in the Indy area, reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Or if you're down in the Louisville area, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services have served those communities down in and around the southern Indiana, Louisville area for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at BarbaraPop.com or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at BarbaraPop.com. Welcome back. Lots and man, so much stuff to talk about. We've got Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star that'll be joining us, Rick Bozich as well. The Derby coming up, the Kentucky Derby. You got to start getting ready for that. We will be there next week, at the end of the week from Churchill Downs doing the show. Looking forward to that. John, are you going to be on site? John is indisposed.
He is thinking about it.
He probably sent me a message, said he was stepping out or something, and I missed it. But just curious. But yeah, looking forward to that. It's been a couple of years since we used to do the show there when we first started, and then once we moved it to Bloomington, I don't think I've been back to Churchill for 2 years since then. But it's pretty cool, man. Being there, you go there. You get there in the early morning for Dawn at the Downs on the backside. It's a pretty cool atmosphere. There's all kinds of great things going on, but you never know who you're going to see. There's usually famous owners, of course, the trainers that are well known, but other people that like to show up for the Derby.
Celebrities. Are you a mint julep drinker?
Have you ever had a mint julep?
I have. It's fine. It's not great, but it's not
I wouldn't
terrible.
call it. You've got to go out of your way. It's something you go out of your way to have. And I don't go out of my way to have it.
I make it at home.
Do you know what it started as? A breakfast drink.
Yes, I do. I read about that in my book on bourbon. I do remember that. And I feel like there was another thing too that it started out as. I could be wrong. Maybe some sort of medicinal thing. I don't know. I do remember it being a breakfast drink. But I make it. I don't ever make it. I don't ever order it, but I will make it at home the weekend of the Derby. I'll make one or two of them, and then that's about the extent of my. It's kind of like candy corn, right? You have a handful, and then you're like, I'm good. I don't need any more of this. You just have one or two, and then you're good.
No, Fozan, I couldn't. Don't forget you. I've got to see it. It's hard. And hey, where's that hat? You're supposed to send a hat from a Jordanian hat of some kind.
There you go.
I'll wear it on the show for him. But glad you're back with us, Fozan. IMG Academy, $1.25 billion. That just is blowing my mind, and that's showing you where the importance of these things have gone. They've been around. I'd have to research them more, but they've been around for a while. They were probably one of the early on ones that's had success and really started going in that direction. I'd have to look up how long has Lalu been up there, La Lumiere.
That's a good question.
And then all of a sudden they become a player, but they're not like IMG or Montverde Academy.
Well, I mean, IMG has become the premier place for development, college preparation, sports. I mean, it's down in Bradenton, Florida. And it's a place where the appeal is you can train with other 4 or 5-star athletes, get the chance to compete all year round, and you head into college, basically, taking college courses, getting college prep, time management, all that stuff. So there's a lot of appeals to it. I don't know what the cost is. I honestly don't know how it works, how you get involved in it. I don't know if they're out recruiting. I don't know if you sign up. I don't know how really it works, but man, anything for 1.2 billion, but they have grown that thing from a startup into, I mean, it's bigger than some colleges in terms of its exposure, in terms of the athletes it gets. It's synonymous with football and basketball and producing high level talent. I'm sure there are other sports do too, but I'm just not as familiar with them.
Michael thinks that my suggestion of Anthony Richardson, that he's going to be a bust in the NFL, very possible. That's just a guess, strictly a guess on how it's going to play out. But yes, I have no idea.
He might be the most unknown. I mean, Anthony Richardson feels like high risk, high reward. So he absolutely could be a bust, but he also just started for only one season at Florida. They weren't great. He's shown some ability, but I don't know, man. That's a tough call because he could be a bust. He could end up being the next big thing. He's such a question mark. I think the Colts will probably stay away from him because of that, but you never know.
We'll certainly find out. The recruiting continues for Indiana, as we all know. Very quiet on that front, other than offers going out. And I think that they're going to be I think they're going to land a good 24 class, followed by a good 25 class. So I think the recruiting is going to be the recruiting itself it has been good and is going to remain good. It's the portal where Indiana is. I don't want to use the word struggling, because when you get a Khalil Ware, there's no way you can say you're struggling, but they are struggling to find specific players, as in the wing shooters. Now, does that change? Very, very probably. Very probable that happens.
You think that changes in the portal?
Yeah, this cycle. If they haven't learned by now, this was their second run. Was this their second or third shot through the portal?
With Woody?
This is just their their second, because he just finished his second season.
Right, but it would technically be
he came on the first,
and he had to re-recruit his entire team basically. And I
don't know how much
Johnson.
Well, it was Trace Jackson Davis was one of the biggest ones, but and I don't know because of that if they have enough portal experience still, because the portal is recruiting at hyperlink speed is what it is.
Right.
It is. The portal is recruiting. If recruiting is a 100 level course, the portal is a 300 level course, and it is done in maximum speed, at warp speed. Everything is compressed. Everything is faster. Everything is more difficult because the competition is more fierce, and it happens faster. So you have to attack a little bit more, I believe, is my opinion on that.
I've been thinking about this because we've been trying to figure out why Indiana is missing on some of these players that they've been targeting and have been recruiting heavily from the transfer portal. Here's the other thing, and maybe we've already discussed this, and it is in the back of my brain somewhere. I also feel like when we're talking about shooters and wing players, I understand it's early for Mike Woodson. I understand he's got NBA experience, but if I'm a shooter and I'm in the transfer portal, my goal is to win immediately. My goal is to try to get to the NBA, right? Or at least get to the next Europe, the G League, some sort of professional level. Indiana has not really produced that. And so what would your pitch be then if you're Mike Woodson to say, come to Indiana, we'll get you to the next level? I mean, Jalen Hood-Schifino, you talked about this, Jim. Can you give Mike Woodson credit for that? I mean, I think you kind of can, but he was going to be a lottery pick either way. And then Trace Jackson Davis, who's a big man. So they haven't developed many shot. Miller Kopp was a great shooter, but they didn't get him the ball. So they didn't really design stuff for him until later in the season. So I think that also factors into why they're swinging and missing on some of these wing players, some of these better shooters. It's an interesting question. It's something we're going to continue to debate, I'm sure, for the entire offseason unless something changes. But I feel like, style of play, there's probably something that you're mentioning, Jim, in that they just don't have a ton of experience with the portal. And then when you have struggled to develop shot-making ability and shooters and produce at a high level in that category, I think that's also hurting them a little bit.
We've got to take a break. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Up next, Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star is going to join us. Back with more, brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate Services, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market. Oh, yeah. Forgot about that, damn it. K-Bro and the Jets.
Kevy and the Jets.
Kevy and the Jets.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we should have got K-Bro on. Talk about that.
We'll bring him on Friday if he's available.
The Jets will still suck. No, though, haven't they been kind of building up a little bit?
Oh, Taterology has a couple solutions for my MLB blackout issues. How about that? Look at that. The people
I haven't got to it yet.
The people helping DS out.
Oh, that's right. Whatever happened to Oak Hill Academy? Yeah, they were the one, man. But they were just basketball, I think.
You know what's funny is
look at Ike kicking in the info all the way over from Serbia.
Do you know? So I didn't realize when I was little, Oak Hill was like, it's a popular name in every state. I think every state has an Oak Hill High School or Oak Hill Academy or something. When I was growing up, in Converse, Indiana, was about, 40 minutes from my house, and it was Oak Hill High School. That's where I thought all of that talent was coming from. People on the show probably remember Jared Odell. He went to Oak Hill High School, not Oak Hill Academy.
Because you also thought it was the bicycle movie.
You're right. At age 9, I thought it was the bicycle movie. I had no idea what Breaking Away was or what Little 500 was. See,
dude, it's a cool race. If you,
I believe it. I just have no interest right now.
You can pull it up on video on like YouTube, I think, and just like watching the last so many laps. It was a photo finish, but yeah, they've got to exchange, and there's wrecks, and it's actually pretty, and the stadium's full.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure.
I was going to say that. Damn it!
I think if I was still in college or just out of college, I would knew more about it. I think I'd go, but I'm at the age where I have no interest. And this is my point about the Indy 500 too. Look, it's an awesome thing. I wish I could see it every year. But it's such a pain in the ass to get in and out. Oh, it's not worth it to me. I'll stay at home and have a few mint juleps.
Here we go, guys.
Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. It's April 26th. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios with Dustin Schutte, John, the producer, keeping us between the white lines, and, of course, you, the most important part of that equation. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a nice Wednesday. It looks like it's going to be a pretty decent day in and around our area in central Indiana. South, but see, I'm from southern Indiana. And when I say southern Indiana, it is as far south and in the middle as you can go.
Okay.
And so, like, when people that, like, Bloomington is considered southern Indiana by so many people because 2/3 of the state is north of them.
Right. I consider Indianapolis the central point, and pretty much everything south of Indianapolis is southern Indiana.
It's not. No, it can't do this. But where does that southern line start? It doesn't start just at the city limits.
That's how I would define it. Oh, that's just me.
You've got to have central. There's central. There's southeast. There's southern. There's southwest.
Where
Evansville is southwestern Indiana, and they should not be called anything else. This should be south central, southeast central, or southwest central.
I like that you've thrown pretty much every direction in here.
Where is southwest Central.
Where's the
It's
line
a
of
long
demarcation?
state is the problem.
It is a long ass state, yes. Where's your line of demarcation?
Well, I just like, all right, you take Indianapolis and you take New Albany. That's the very bottom. That's Indianapolis, and New Albany is the very bottom right away. Right in the middle of that is anything but between Indianapolis and that is South Central.
Okay.
Say from like the Columbus area.
I was going to suggest Columbus. Is Nashville in that area? Nashville, Indiana?
Well, that Nashville is due west of Columbus.
Okay, that's what yeah.
Thank God Kyle Neddenriep's here. We're having
we're having map discussions, Kyle.
But you know what? There's probably nobody better to ask this. All right. I'm from Southern Indiana, Kyle, and you have been all over the state. You are all over the state all the time, covering everything. When someone says Southern Indiana to you, what comes up into your mind? What areas?
Probably anything like Bloomington on down to me is I would consider Southern Indiana.
See, I was just saying that someone that's from Southern Indiana, the very bottom of the southern part, I divide it even further. I take Indianapolis and New Albany and then cut it in half. Anything between Indianapolis and, say, Columbus is South Central to me. And then I'm Southern Indiana. Evansville, Southwestern Indiana. Lawrenceburg is Southeastern Indiana. But no one says that. No one says Southeastern Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting conversation. I mean, I don't know.
Is it though, Kyle?
Maybe not. Maybe not. But it is. It's something I think about sometimes. In passing, it's like, what are we really calling? Actually, this came up last week. So with the Mr. Basketball stuff, and we may have talked a little bit about it, but there was various media kind of complaining about how we haven't had Mr. Basketball in such and such amount of years in Northern Indiana. And I'm kind of like, well, Fort Wayne has had multiple winners, and the person's like, well, that's not Northern Indiana. So like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
and then you have the region, so that's not Northern Indiana.
Right.
So exactly. So there you go. And it's funny. And the South always, rightfully, a lot of the times, or it used to be, complained about the lack of coverage or consideration along with those schools in the central area or sometimes the northern area. It was the southern part of the state is generally kind of, not forgotten about, but it is not, it's a weird thing. There's like a slight separation of sorts.
I was, from my perspective, having done this for a long time, I would say Southern Indiana to a certain, like, so I went down, I did a Jennings County story this year, and they had a great season in basketball. They are sort of a forgotten area as far as coverage goes, though. They don't get, there's no one, and I'm probably, I don't mean to slight anybody who does cover them regularly, but they don't get the coverage probably that, that a lot of other areas do. And, the Louisville paper has stopped basically covering, the Indiana side for a large extent. And I think
there used to be the Indiana, the Courier Journal used to have an Indiana edition.
Yeah. And not even just, and I know there's other areas that have picked up the slack on coverage too. I'm not, not saying it's all got to be newspapers, but even still, that's an area that's probably not covered, like a lot of other, even Northern Indiana's got a lot of coverage from various outlets. And, so yeah, I would agree. Southern Indiana to that, in that area anyway. And Evansville's got their own, they get their own coverage. And, and I know people, a lot of times when you're talking Southern Indiana, Evansville's not even considered part of that, even though they are the far south part, but they're sort of in their own area over there too. So yeah, it's I understand what you're saying. It is an interesting,
and and that's another
topic.
point with both Fort Wayne. That's a TV market. Evansville, a TV market.
Mm-hmm.
The New Albany, Jeffersonville, Floyd Central area, which is very strong, is a Louisville TV market.
Right.
It's a Louisville. They have a small newspaper there, the Tribune, that
covers them really well. That they do a great job. But yeah, but it's different. I agree. It's you're talking the other side of the state is your metro area, and they don't they're not really covering Indiana like they used to. So it's weird. It's just a little bit it's different everywhere, I guess. And people always complain, even here, it's hard to cover everybody. We have so many schools in our area that you just feel like you can't get to everything. But so I get it. I mean, people, I think I covered this last week, but people talk about bias and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I mean, we are the Indianapolis Star, so we that's where we try to cover first.
Well, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. And you guys do a tremendous job actually covering the state. You do an absolute tremendous job. I cannot believe they have one guy, and it's Kyle Neddenriep, that does the entire high school beat. Because let me tell you, the high school beat is, if you take the IU beat, the Purdue beat, whatever, it doesn't matter. The high school beat is like the Big Ten Conference and the SEC Conference. He's following all these teams and all these players, thousands. Man, what you do is multiplied by just such a massive number. It's crazy. And you do an incredible job, but I don't know how you do it. You must have a brain that is very organized.
I wouldn't say that at all, according to my wife. But I would say, we have, we've got people who help now who cover. We've got Brian Henson, who's doing a lot of the girls stuff. We've got Akeem Glaspie, who does a lot of the baseball stuff. So we've got, I think the numbers have shown, like, all right, well, we're getting subscriptions, or we're getting readers off of our high school coverage. So let's pour a little bit more into it where we can. And, it's not ideal. We're still not, where I was when I came in here in 2008, our staff obviously was a lot bigger, and our high school coverage was a lot more people doing it. I would say we probably do a better job now, though, of covering it than we did then. We probably did stuff then that was more day to day than we do now. Now I think we're doing better, bigger stories, and I don't know, better. I mean, I'm not trying to say better or worse, I guess, but I think we're more. You can look at the numbers and kind of know, like, all right, this doesn't work, this does work. We didn't know that in 2008 or 7 or whatever it was. So it just makes you, I think, a little smarter on what you cover. And I don't know that it's ever going to be perfect. You don't appease everybody, for sure. I'm not saying that, but yeah, I think you just do the best you can with what you got and try to get to as many stories as you can.
Well, and to that point, Kyle, I'm interested from the journalism side. We're hitting the hard-hitting news here this morning, aren't we?
We are.
I am interested in the development of information.
It's April. Dustin, it's April.
I know. The creation of Twitter, Facebook, how people can get their scores, their information, going to games, watching, newspaper. Is that playing a role in how you cover teams, games, players, things of that nature? Because it seems like you're able to do maybe more of those feature stories as opposed to, we got to get to this game, where maybe you're able to watch it on TV now, or you're able to follow along on Twitter or whatever the case might be, as opposed to, 10, 15 years ago when you have to get to every game so you know what actually happened.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it, I think. And I've always kind of pushed back on the idea. I mean, I've been doing this since 2000, in newspaper business. So, I've seen a lot. I mean, I remember when I first started in Springfield, Missouri, we had one computer that had internet access, and that seems like, lifetime ago, basically. So, a lot of what we did then is similar really to what we do now. It's just online. But to your point of sort of the day-to-day grind, I would say that I still go, I'll go to a lot of, I still go to the same amount of games I used to, but I may not write a traditional game story every time. A lot of times I'll do, in the tournament games, I think like, all right, let's write what the people care about, what the result is, obviously, city championship, stuff like that. You're still writing about what happened in front of you. But, a regular season game or whatever, you may be trying to write a feature off that or do something a little bit different that maybe in the past you didn't do. But, there's all ways to do it, I think. And I never, sometimes you maybe overthink it, or, you just kind of need to see a lot. I think if you see a lot, it helps you understand, like, all right, now I can go write, like, who are some of the underrated players, and just like, all right, I'm going to go write 10 players who I think are underrated, or whatever the case may be. And seeing more games allows you to do that. So I don't watch games really. I mean, I watch some games online. I don't like to do that really. I try to get to as many as I can personally. And also just, talking to people off to the side, it helps you understand, or maybe find a different story angle, or it's so different than even talking to people on the phone. Just shooting the bull in person is helpful. So, I still think being out there helps, and feet on the ground type of stuff. And it allows you more access and probably leads to better stories in the long run. But yeah, there's a lot of stories that used to be, you might write 3, 4, 5 paragraphs on something that just as easily you can just tweet out now. And in my opinion, that's sufficient. You don't need to waste time reporting something out that isn't really necessary, and I think finding that line is hard. You don't know. I write probably more than my editors want me to write, to be honest with you. I'm just sort of like that. I feel like reporting and writing and writing a lot is sort of puts me in a comfort zone somewhat. So that's sort of something they've talked to me like, hey, we don't need this much, or we don't need you to do, and I have to scale back, to a certain extent, but yeah, it's sort of an inside baseball thing, but I it is something I think about a lot, and I agree with you. I think the need for sort of that day-to-day stuff is lessened because of social media.
Let's see what's going on with you right now. As I just mentioned that it's April, things are kind of slowing down, but now we're already into the AAU season while these kids are still in high school. I know that last weekend the EYBL action was going on. You've got the Adidas 3SSB, and again this weekend, again those guys are in action. Guys like Flory Badunga and Trent Sisley, Jalen Harrelson on Indiana Elite. I think they're playing. Are they playing in? Is it in Phoenix where they are?
I believe so. Yeah,
it's one of them's in Phoenix this weekend, and I'm trying to think where the other one is. Bryan, Texas, I think. I think that's actually where the 3SSB is, in Bryan, Texas, and I think it's Nike EYBL in Phoenix. But a lot of the Indiana guys playing there together, and they've added Travis Perry, guys from Kentucky, onto that team. They've really built that team to try to win in these tournaments, it looks like.
You talking about the Indiana Elite team?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a chance to see them play a little bit the previous weekend up at Noblesville, and yeah, that Travis Perry's he's a fun guy to watch. I'd like to see him play. I think in his high school season too. Go down there and watch him play. But he's a good player. Obviously Flory is Flory, and we'll see kind of where that stuff goes. But yeah, a lot of travel stuff, and that's right now they're out of our area, so I'm not really covering that. I got my own kids playing this weekend, and then trying to fit in and covering some golf this spring and some track, doing a little more track, and then all these coaching changes with basketball too is sort of randomly popping up and keeping me busy too. So that's definitely I don't know if there's a bigger story to be done there and all these changes, or if it's maybe a coincidence. I don't know the answer to that really, but there have been a lot of basketball coaching changes this year that are pretty big jobs. I don't know if the total number is going to be much different than the past, but it just seems like a lot of big jobs this year that have opened up and creating a little bit of a domino effect as well.
What was the biggest one of those? I know that recently you had a piece on Mark McFarland taking over at Perry Meridian.
Yeah, that's definitely not the biggest, but it was, they're one of our bigger schools, but they're definitely a rebuild job. Lawrence Central opened, and Phil Washington, who was the coach at Addix and also had I actually wrote about him this morning. He had the Anderson job. This was about 7-8 years ago, his hometown, and got a drunk driving arrest and was fired basically without even coaching. So several years later now, he's got an opportunity at LC. And I know Phil pretty well. I covered that. He gave me behind the scenes access when he was at Addix in 2014-15. And I rode the bus with the team. It was in the locker room before, after games, halftime, all that. And, got to know him pretty well. And it's neat to see that he's going to have this chance, cause sort of a redemption type of a situation at Lawrence Central. And, talked to him yesterday at length, and he was pretty honest. He's different now. He's wiser. He feels like he's been through a lot of public things, and I think it's people screw up, man. I mean, I know I do in my own life, and it's good to see that they gave him a chance again to coach, and feel like he's probably earned that opportunity. Warren Central opened up, and Chris Byers is coming back to coach there. And then you've got Mount Vernon still open, and some others are still open. But yeah, it's Franklin Central's open now because Chris Byers took the Warren job. So like I said, there's some of these. There's a little bit of a domino. Some are filled with assistants, so they're not creating that domino.
Yeah, it's great to see that, because there's nothing better, like you said, than seeing a redemption story. Every time I hear that, I think of Sharon Wilkerson. Because every time I talk to him, I am just amazed at the man that he is. He is the same every time now, and it is pleasant, and just, you're like, wow, this is a 180, and it's awesome to see. So congratulations to him and to you. What's up next for you?
Working on a DeJuan Jones story today, trying to finish that up. So
the big man. He's I had a chance to sit down with him a couple of weeks ago, or probably not even that long ago, week or so ago, and he's potentially going to get drafted tomorrow night, maybe what would that be, Friday night, I guess. So we'll see. He's kind of on that edge of first, second round, and just not even necessarily writing about the draft, but just DeJuan the person. And almost anyone you talk to, when you say the name DeJuan Jones, they get a big smile on their face. And, so it's just kind of writing about who he is. And I think the Big Easy. He's probably the cool. Big Easy.
Yeah, he is. He's very, after I interviewed him out there on the football field, we just sat there talking about anything and everything for like the next hour about like high school basketball. And just he's kind of sort of an old soul, I would say. And he's always been that way. And if you talk to his friends, he's about as loyal as he can be. So just a neat dude, and I hope it all works out for him this weekend.
Absolutely. And a hell of a basketball player. Was part of the Indiana Junior All-Stars. I remember watching him at a game in New Albany, and they couldn't stop him. They had nothing for him. I was like,
yeah, he was a senior All-Star too. I mean, the senior year they went to the state finals with him and Jalen Wyndham, and he ended up making the Indian All-Star team as a senior. Had some Division I offers to play basketball, but obviously made the right decision, I would say.
Probably so. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dustin.
Kyle Neddenriep of the Indy Star. Make sure you give him a follow and be a subscriber. I am. Keep local newspapers alive. Up next, the great one, Rick Bozich, joins us. More right after this, brought to you by Metalworks Brewing Company, served in all the Endeavor Hospitality restaurants, or just go right to the source. Metalworks Brewing Company, located right off of 6th Street off the square in Bloomington. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. What's new in B-Town?
Nothing right now that I'm aware of.
Quiet.
It is quiet on the front.
Nobody in the portal or out of the portal, or heard Geronimo was visiting Maryland.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had any room left. Man, they're adding people left and right.
They lost Hakeem Hart to Villanova.
Maryland's one of the teams that I'm thinking next year they're going to be up in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Top 3. They're in my top 3 right now. How's Oh, absolutely. Michigan State's my favorite, which it sounds so stupid. I sit here and say, there's no predictions, and then turn right around and say that.
You can predict the teams that you know who they're going to have back.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I'm like, all right, I kind of you know what Michigan State's got, you know what Purdue has for certain. So, but Michigan State has Tom Izzo, so you have to put that on top of there. So they're my favorite right now to win the league.
Who got your basketball in Indiana? Who'd they name? Was it Booker?
Nope. The kid from Penn, Marcus going to
Burton?
Notre Dame. Marcus Burton going to Notre Dame. When's the last time Notre Dame had a Mr. Basketball?
I don't know. Scott Hicks, maybe, or I don't even know if he was Mr. Basketball.
Geez, that's actually some research right there, people. The peeps on the Andy Moore Honda hotline are pretty good about popping that info in there. Right? They're great. So Pete said no mention of Arnie's or Whataburger, or this conversation goes off the rails. Well, see, you just mentioned it, Pete. Now you got me thinking of both, and neither are accessible to me.
What's the closest Pizza King?
That's not the same.
This is the problem, Rick. They start bitching about Pizza King.
We're not having this argument. It's not the same.
All right, here we go, guys.
Made fair, tying their roots in Limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 down in Clarksville and Evansville. In Clarksville, it's right off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, easy to get to. And in Evansville, also right off of I-69 off of the Lloyd. Everything is made from scratch every day. Pizza, burgers, beer, great place to catch a game and just hang out with friends. Rick Bozich with us now from WDRB.com. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Even though the White Sox are 7-17, have lost 6 in a row, have yet to win back-to-back games all year or a single season series, I'm good.
They are Reds-like.
They're worse than the Reds. They have the 3rd worst record in baseball. You could say 2nd because Oakland doesn't count because they're not trying.
I was going to say, so it sounds like they're actually worse. Yeah.
Oakland and Colorado might be the only 2 that are worse.
I have never laughed as hard as I have at a baseball game as when I was watching. Who were they even playing? The Oakland played Texas, and they brought in a position pitcher, and just lobbing the ball to home plate, and you could tell the Rangers just wanted the game to end because it was 18-2 or something like that. I mean, they are so god awful.
Yeah, they went out of Oakland, and they're doing everything they can to make people stay away from the park and be angry, and baseball needs to step in and say, okay, go, get out of here.
Yeah.
you look at the American League East. Let's see, the dead last team, the Sox. The Yankees are tied with them with 13 wins. The Blue Jays, then 15. Then the Orioles with 15, and then the Tampa Bay has 20, leading that division. But over in the American League Central, of which the White Sox are among, the second place team, actually the Twins who are leading it would actually be in fourth in the East. And everybody else would just be behind.
It's bad. It's very bad.
That's
very bad.
The Central divisions in both leagues are always the worst. They're the smallest. They have the smaller teams, don't they?
I wouldn't call Chicago not a small market. They just act like one.
Exactly. Chicago is a small market. They've always been small market franchises, not in a small market. They've always both teams. The
Cubs don't operate that way. The Cubs, the Cubs generally don't operate that way, but they did after they won the World Series because they had all those really expensive players and they really didn't extend any of them and they broke up the team. So,
how many owners don't care about winning? And
I'd say a good chunk. I mean, a really good chunk
because they're making money regardless.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And winning actually costs money.
Bingo.
Yep.
Winning costs money, people. So the Cardinals, last place tie with my.
Yeah, they're not playing well this year, but they'll get it together. They've had some injuries and different things. They'll get it together.
The Reds, 1-9 in their last 10 games.
Didn't they win yesterday?
Yeah, they beat the Rangers. The first win in, I guess that means they lost 9 straight. See, they lost 9 straight. Damn it. If you don't do that, the Cardinals they've got some room on the Cardinals. Golly. Now, hopefully they go on then last year they go on a heater.
The Reds?
Yeah.
Weren't they like 3-23 or something by that time?
Oh, that's right. That's what happened. They started out horrible and then turned it around, which, oh well. Looks like they'll have to do again. Tough. How's lots of derby action going on down there in Louisville?
Yeah, I was at the track yesterday for a while. I'm going to go back.
Is today position pull?
No, it's next week. The derby's next week.
Right, I know the derby's next week, but I didn't know if I couldn't remember. Monday, so they do it Wednesday. Oh, it's the Monday of.
They moved it up to Monday.
It used to be Wednesday. They called it.
You wouldn't recognize it if you went out there. They've torn up the entire paddock area because they're building a new one, and it's going to be really cool when it's done. But it's sort of a temporary situation this year, where where the paddock was, that whole big area. They've dug it out, and it's going to be like below the ground. So they're going to have a viewing area all around the paddock where people can get around the paddock and stand and watch them saddle the horses for every race. It's going to be pretty cool. And then in the first turn, they used to have those ugly temporary bleachers that look like they belonged at a high school football game.
Yeah.
Those are gone, and they've got regular nice bleachers with padded seats and a bunch of those betting kiosks where you can bet from right where you're sitting, and clubs where you can go get food and drinks. And yeah, they keep pouring money into that place, man.
And it's funny because Churchill Downs makes what percentage of their year comes next week?
Oh, next week I'd say 95%. If I had to guess. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, especially. Yeah. I mean, that's, and the other 362 days a year, the place is relatively empty. They have some good Saturdays, and they have some good Saturdays in the fall meet. Thanksgiving Day is still a big deal, but a big deal, and Thanksgiving Day is 25,000 people. Next week on Thursday, they call it,
Thurby.
Yeah, it's Thurby. That's the one day that more local people go to track, and I'd say they're approaching 60 to 70,000 on that. Then on Oaks Day, they're pushing 100,000. Then on Derby Day, obviously 150 or 160.
Well, they had been getting up. Oaks had been getting up, not competing with the Derby, but exceeding the old Derby numbers as the Derby was going higher. Yeah, there have been times where it's been over 100,000 for Oaks Day now, which is the Friday. Friday used to be the locals' day back, but that's been probably 10 years ago since that's been the case. And now that's been relegated to Thursday, which is called Thurby, as we just talked about. But about 70,000 people out there. Churchill Downs loves that because that didn't used to be the case. But Wednesday's big. The whole week is a big week. You've got people I talked about earlier, the Dawn at the Downs, back behind the track on the backside or in the barn area where all the horses are, all the stars. There are celebrities there. There is just the networks. It's a major deal, but it's such a unique environment because, it was a month ago, we're in New York covering the NCAA, but we're in an arena and all that. Well, this is taking place outside in the dirt and all of that. And I think that makes it all the more cooler for me, but it's the most unique type of sport and preview that there is.
Yeah, and it's different from a lot of sports in that, a lot of the action takes place really early in the morning, and you can actually go out and watch the horses gallop, or whether they're actually working, which means running harder, more towards full speed, and they're going different distances, and you're trying to look at them and see how well as they move across the track, whether they're straining to do it or whether they do it easily. You're looking to see, different body types of horses, and some are more muscular, some are leaner and more athletic looking. Just, the people that really know what they're doing, who kind of isolate themselves on the rail with the binoculars, are really locked in on the horses. For a bunch of other people, it's an opportunity to go out to the track and just be around the animals that they're not around much the rest of the year. And it's a nice change of pace, and I enjoy going out there before it gets real crowded, just to kind of see the beauty of the animals.
Yeah, I love every bit of it except the getting up at 5 o'clock part.
I agree. The getting up early is hard.
That sucks. Switching gears, Indiana basketball recruiting. I'm sure that they're still digging and churning in the portal, but it appears a lot of attention has been shifted towards 2024. Part of that, though, is because the AAU season has begun.
Sure.
But a lot of offers out for the 2024 class by IU here of late. One of the 25 to, gosh darn it, Dominique Wilkinson.
Mm-hmm. Really good player.
Cool.
Yeah.
6'8" guy, big guy too.
And Mike Woodson has a good relationship with Dominique Wilkins because when he was a coach of the Hawks, Dominique Wilkins was on the TV team. So I'm sure you'll at least be able to get in the door and get a chance to talk to the young man. But in terms of next year, I still think they need to find at least one more guard in the portal. And I think they're probably looking for one. Whether they get one or not, I don't know, because I think that's what a lot of schools are looking for. People are making the same comment about Louisville, that they need to get another guard. The problem is now, the pressure's on. It's sort of when I've been told it's a seller's market. If you're the player, you've got more options than, the schools that more schools need you than you need them. And, this guys who are going in the portal now, I don't know if you really have as much time to sort of vet them and talk to them and see if they're how much they really fit in your locker room. So you're taking a chance in some ways of bringing somebody in who didn't succeed or wasn't happy enough in his old place to stay there, and you have to keep your fingers crossed that he's going to be happy in your locker room.
Is there an element to missing out on some of these guys? And we've been debating this the past week, I guess, when Indiana has swung and missed on some of the guys that they've targeted. They've looked for wings. They've looked for shooters. Is not Mike Woodson not developing these guys playing into the into this decision? And what I mean by that is they really haven't developed a shooter, and that's desperately what they need. Jalen Hood-Schifino obviously played really well. Lottery pick, Trace Jackson Davis, but he's a big guy. He never really developed much of a shot.
Right.
To me, that's a big factor, along with the fact of the style of play in the Big Ten, because some of these guys that they Chris Ledlum, and now I'm blanking on the other guy, both go to Tennessee.
Dalton Connect.
Yeah. Both those guys go to Tennessee. So to me, we haven't been able to develop shooters and get them to the next level. And I know it's early in Woodson's career. And then the other aspect is the style of play in the Big Ten. I mean, do you think that those are factors or not really?
What I'd say is this. One, I don't think we will ever really know the reason why guys go to different schools. We don't know what the NIL opportunities are,
right,
one versus another. We don't know what kind of promises are made at schools in terms of playing time.
True.
Or what you're going to be doing. What I think is fair, and also in terms of developing shooters, I think that's a hard thing to do anyway. I mean, a lot of guys, you can either shoot or you really can't shoot. You can maybe make somebody a little bit better. I don't know if you can radically make somebody improve, but what I think a fair criticism and say that I don't think they have featured shooters.
Sure.
They haven't run an offense that really has played to the strengths of the shooters that they have had or have gotten them shots. And even Miller Kopp has sort of hinted at that a couple of times. He's made comments like he got what was left over or he got the shots that he got. And so I think that is probably something that opposing schools use to recruit against Indiana, saying, well, if you watch the way they played the last 2 years, it's mainly high pick and roll, and the point guard and the center get all the shots. And, they're going to have to show people that it's not going to be that way. And I think they're going to have to actually change and not for it to be that way because, as we've talked about many times before, Indiana's lack of reliance, lack of interest in making the three-point shot an important part of their offense, I think is a bad strategy. It's a bad strategy because you got to make threes to win, and it's a bad strategy because it doesn't appeal to two guards and wings that are really good.
Right.
And picking up the Khalil Ware as their first major piece,
right,
doesn't do anything. It does not do anything to dissuade that, and as a matter of fact, it almost perpetuates it to these guys. They're like, "Well, so that's your main focus." I mean, I can see how a kid can look at it and say, "So things are not going to change there."
Right, I agree. I mean, I'm sure that other schools are telling them that. Look at who the first two players they got out of the portal. Peyton Sparks is a guy who does all of his damage within 5 to 8 feet around the rim. And Khalil Ware, although he is supposedly a decent shooter, he's also a big who's going to be playing, down by the block. That's where their focus is. So they are the ones who have to break through on that in some way. And this has been going on, though, at IU for a long time. It went on under Archie where, it was 2 years of Trace. And before that, it was Juwan Morgan. And they haven't played that way really since Cream was there. Right? I mean, they haven't.
Nope, I agree. And that is exactly what they're going to have to do and get to, but you have to have the players to do that. Now, they do have guys that have to be expected to step up. CJ Gunn, Caleb Banks.
Correct.
From that, those guys have to move forward. And
I agree.
I think Caleb Banks will. I've said it over and over. When he came in toward the end, he started getting his opportunities. He kind of made the most of them. He doesn't score 15 points a game, but I think there was a game or two that he did score and get up to double figures, and it was limited minutes.
Right. What I saw from Banks was that he wasn't afraid. He never looked like he didn't belong out there. He looked like he was a guy that wasn't the main option, and he wasn't even the top 2 or 3 options. But when he actually got the ball, he wasn't afraid to try and do things with the ball. He was able to handle it reasonably well. He rebounded. He blocked some shots. He looked like his shot was, something that could be a weapon. So yeah, I think he has a chance, obviously, to step forward and be that kind of player. Now, Gunn, he shot the ball poorly. What was he like 2 for 26 on threes? It was some really outlandish number. It wasn't good. But he has the credentials, and his shot looks good. His form looks good. It just didn't happen for him last year. So of the guys that nobody's talking, they're the two guys that if Indiana's looking for somebody to really be an impact improvement, they have to be the two guys. So, and I think they can be. I don't see Gunn was 2 for 24. I don't see like Galloway. I don't expect him to all of a sudden become Matt Roth. That's not going to happen. It's not his game. The guy who's always the guy who's a total mystery to me, and he's a great kid, is Anthony Leal. I just don't understand why he's not any factor at all. He played more as a freshman than he did as a sophomore. He came there as a shooter, and he's not really ever like turned the corner in any way where he could even go in there for against a team that's playing zone and give you like 5 minutes. I don't get it.
I don't either, because you would think that with his he's what, a junior?
He's been there 3 years, right?
Yeah, so he's got the experience, and he's all in. He's always in. You look at him on the bench, he's in.
Great team guy. Great team.
Yes, he's not checked out. He's always into the game. He's always helping. I did a thing a while back during the end of the season where he was talking about he's listening, calling out stuff, scouting, yelling stuff out to him. But you look back, he played for a Bloomington South team that didn't play probably the strongest schedule in the world. It wasn't the weakest, but they're not playing, an Indianapolis schedule. They did play a good team like Floyd Central that I remember they beat them on a last second shot by Anthony under the basket. But I maybe, I don't know if it comes down to defense, if that's what the worry is. The speed, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you would sure think that he would be able to give you something. And looking at CJ Gunn's stats from last year, 3-point percentage, 8.3. That's almost in.
I mean,
oh my God, he was a great shooter. He's a great shooter in high school. He shoots 80% from the free throw line.
He'll do much better this coming season if he gets an opportunity, and the coaching staff say, "Hey, go out there and relax and shoot. And if you don't make any, don't worry, do it again the next game. You're going to keep getting opportunities." And then I think he'll turn the corner and he'll be good. I mean, when he's out there, he defends. He's a decent enough ball handler. His shot looks good. He just looked like a kid who was pressing. And then if he didn't make a shot, it was like, oh, I don't know if I should shoot now. And I think a lot of players go through that. And then eventually they break through that and they don't worry about it anymore. And they just play. So, if you look at, that's the thing with IU. I mean, Bates, I think a lot of people thought he would be that guy who could be a 2-guard or a wing, and it just never happened for him. Geronimo, I think there was some hope he could be that guy. He just was never a good enough shooter. I don't think he's a guy, I think you could work with him in the gym for a million years, and he's never going to be a great shooter. He just doesn't have the fluidity in the shot mechanics. It looks like he's like thinking about his shot all the way through. Okay, elbow in, eye on the rim, step forward, follow through. It just doesn't come natural. Over the gun, when he's shooting the ball, it looks like he's naturally a shooter, so that's been the issue. They need to get a 2-guard or a wing who's just a dude. I mean, we've talked about it before, whether it's a Troy Williams type guy or Victor Oladipo or whoever it is, somebody like that.
I was trying to find Victor Oladipo's stats from when he was in college.
He did make a big improvement.
That's exactly what I was trying to find.
I can find him for you.
I couldn't get him pulled up quick enough, but because he's a guy that comes to mind instantly. That reminds me of this. That was not a good shooter. He did not come to IU as a good shooter. Worked, and became a good shooter. Worked his way
as
up.
As a freshman, 8 for 26, 31%. As a sophomore, 10 for 48, 21%. And as a junior, 30 for 68, 44%. So he made the step forward. But as you mentioned, he the year before when he shot 21% on threes, he shot 75% from the line, which tells you he can shoot. He just needs to practice more threes and get more relaxed doing it. And I think that's where we're at with Gunn. I think he can shoot, and he is a guy that if he's taking 500 shots a day and he's in the gym now every day, I expect him to make a step forward. Gunn and Banks and Renew should all be much better players next year.
And you have to have an offense that is conducive to providing and offering those opportunities in a way that makes it easier to do instead of having to work hard to get your own shot constantly.
Right. Has there been anything new up there about Xavier Johnson and the medical hardship?
I have not heard of anything of yet, and waiting. I'm surprised it's taking this long.
Yeah.
Are you though?
Well,
it's the NCAA.
Yes.
Well, but Indiana needs to know. They need to know, because if they get a thumbs down, they're really in trouble.
I'm aware of that. They do need to know, but the NCAA takes their time.
And so is Xavier Johnson, because he would probably. Yeah. I don't know that he would enter the draft coming off of an injured year, because he's not going to get drafted. So,
but what does he have to lose?
His eligibility.
No, I'm saying if they give him the thumbs, are you saying if he gets the thumbs down? Right now, he's got nothing to lose. He should just enter.
Oh, thumbs down. Thumbs down. He won't play anymore, so it'll be over.
Right.
So I guess you're right, but that's why he needs to know.
I agree with both of you. I'm just not surprised it's taking this long.
But you also have to go through the combine to be eligible for the draft.
No, you don't. Do you?
Yes,
that's beginning next season. That's beginning.
Oh,
next
it
year.
is.
Okay.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, he could get lucky this season, I guess. What's next for you, Rick? What you working on?
Mainly Derby stuff and NFL draft a little bit, because tomorrow night we have the great question in this area: is some team really going to take Will Levis of Kentucky with the number 1 overall pick? Which
we talked about that earlier. Could that be the Colts? No, the number 1 pick. My fault.
Oh yeah, the big story yesterday was in Vegas that the money was flooding in on Will Levis to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Which,
can I bet against that?
I don't know if you can bet against it. You can bet for it, but that would be a mind-blowing opportunity to me, because I know that Kentucky had a bad offensive line this year. I know they didn't have great receivers. I know they didn't like their offensive coordinator and fired him, but he did not look like the number 1 player in college football at any point last season. That is a leap of faith that I would not be willing to take.
I don't see how there's any way possible that anyone jumps over Bryce Young from Alabama. And, we talked about.
You like him better than C.J. Stroud? See, I like C.J. Stroud.
Well, I like C.J. Stroud better, too, because of the height. His numbers are equal. But now we've been talking about this S2 eval thing that came out that has replaced the Wonderlic test that he apparently scored very low on.
Right.
Which I don't know how much that matters, but it matters a lot to the NFL people. How much? We'll see, because Houston is still pegged to probably take him second, which then leaves I think the Colts are going to take Anthony Richardson.
Wow. That's another leap of faith I wouldn't be willing to take.
Can I just say that I don't like really any of the quarterbacks in this draft?
You like him better than Levis?
Who?
Well, you like Levis better than Richardson?
I do, but I mean, I had the misfortune of watching Richardson play some of his worst games. I just don't see when you look at Richardson's performance and say, "Wow, he was like a 53% passer for a 6-7 Florida team that terribly underachieved." I mean, why are people? Because he looks the part. He looks like he should be a good quarterback, but in terms of production, I don't see it. Now for IU, it'd be a historic night, because if Cam Jones actually gets drafted, which would be on Saturday, that'd be back after going like 34 years without having a linebacker drafted. They would have linebackers drafted in back-to-back seasons. How about that?
Move it on, baby. Moving it up. Big time. Big time.
He's the only IU player likely to get picked, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Brother, I'll let you go. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Look forward to seeing you next week in Louisville at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, I might be on the backside of the track with my laptop out by, the barn of Forte, the Derby favorite.
Well, you may just be with us. We're planning on being there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let me know.
Will do, sir. You have
We'll
a
see you
great one
live.
and a great rest of your week.
All right.
Make sure you follow Rick Bozich
All right.
at WDRB.com. Appreciate you,
Thanks,
sir.
man.
Back with
Have a good
more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the great discussion. Great discussions. Wednesdays is my favorite day.
It's a good day.
It is my favorite day. It starts with Bob and ends with Rick. I mean, two of the greats, two of the best. I mean, we are lucky to have them
Every week.
It's enough to make any straight man hard.
Oh, God.
Boy. I think I need some more coffee. Oh, I better not.
Well,
Well, that was
What are we going to have, like 2 minutes?
3.
Yeah, about 3 minutes.
What did I say that this is in reference to? Oh. The last Mr. Basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Notre Dame. There you go. Thanks, Michael. 18 years, baby.
It's quite a while.
Pizza King. Pizza King is to Arnie's what Crystals is to White Castle. Knock off.
Knock off.
Although I think Pizza King may have started first in the 50s. Thank you, Justin. I hope that's a
Compliment.
positive. Yes, I think it is. I don't get complimented much for my conversations. All right, pizza toppings. That's easy.
Pizza toppings.
There is unequivocally 5 toppings, and cheese does not count.
I agree with you on that. Cheese is
That's
not
not
a
a
topping.
freaking topping.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like calling the sauce a topping.
That's
All
true.
right, here we go, guys.
Has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hobbs' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us, as always. Jim Coyle and Dustin Schutte. Finishing up with a little quick discussion on pizza. Everyone talking about pizza toppings. There are 5 unequivocal toppings that belong on a pizza. Cheese does not count. That's like calling sauce a topping. Sauce and cheese belong on a pizza, period. But the toppings: sausage, pepperoni, mushroom, onions, banana peppers. Boom.
Mushrooms,
And
no.
preferably, I like the cheese on top.
Wow. Upset. I like the toppings on top. That's why they're called toppings. Now, wait a
Cheese just
second.
melts them down. Cheese is just a binder, holds them down.
Okay. I go with pepperoni, sometimes sausage, and green and red peppers. Banana peppers will fix. Onion you can do. I just can't. I hate I do not like mushrooms. It's a texture thing. Not a fan. You put mushrooms in everything, including your chili.
No, not every. Well, a lot of things. They're good.
1 minute.
They're good. Man, what another fun show. A blast. I cannot thank Bob Kravitz enough from The Athletic. Make sure you give him a follow and be a subscriber to The Athletic. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Same there. Rick Bozich. He's with WDRB.com. Make sure you give all these guys a follow. And speaking of which, follow at Schutte Dustin while you're at it. Pull out your phone and get on Twitter and give me a follow as well at Jim Coyle ISB. Would appreciate that more than you know. Hit the subscribe and notifications toggle if you're on YouTube. And if you're not and you're one of our river rats, go out and have a great day. Or region rats, have an incredible day wherever you are. I hope it's a great day for you. We're back tomorrow to do this again, preview the draft, keep up with recruiting, see what's next. Until then, for Dustin Schutte, John the producer, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.